This is annoying.
Hi, this is Bill Canada, Custer County Board of Commissioners, Commissioner. And this is, what is this? It's Thursday. I keep thinking it's Wednesday all day long. Thursday, September 30, 2021, and it's 9:02 on the official commissioner's clock. I'd like to remind everybody to turn their phones off or silence them. This meeting's being recorded by our clerk and via Zoom and YouTube. So with that, since Tom's ready, we're going forward.
That was a harder one to silence than the cell phone.
Phone systems are sometimes beyond us. All right, let's stand for the pledge and let's have our new substitute teacher, Reggie Foster, lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reggie. Okay, roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Day.
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
Okay, everybody's here. Thanks. Audience introductions.
David Day Wentmore. Reggie Foster, PIO.
Tina Jones, Custer County Administrative Assistant for BOCC.
Okay, and that's what we have in the room. Anybody online?
We have Custer County Office of Emergency Management, Darla Kennedy Scholes, Deb Adams, Jordan Benson, Vernon Roth, and Bill Camden.
Okay, so when they speak, if they have any questions, we'll introduce them again. And Kelly probably got them all. Maybe. All right. With that, how about the agenda, guys? You got anything to amend, Tom?
I do not.
Kevin?
No, sir.
Me either. Okay, and this time we got the minutes because we had to look at them again. Right, so we're good. And they look great to me. Any changes, Tom?
No, sir.
How about you, Ken?
No.
So,
I would move to approve the minutes of August 18th. Sorry, my screen just went spastic on me.
31st.
August 18th and August 31st, as presented by the clerk to the BOCC.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of August 18 and 31. All in favor, say aye, Tom.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Commissioner items, a lot of things have happened to a lot of people. It's been a busy month so far since the last meeting. Kevin, go ahead.
There's one issue that I'm going to be working with Clint on down in Wetmore. I'll get with him probably after our meeting today. It's in regards to the window out of the Lone Pine that's at the library right now. So
The historic window, you want to make sure it's.
well, kind of. It was actually replaced after the car ran through the window.
Oh, geez. Not that is well, it's historic for that.
But I'm going to work with him on that. And I think everybody's aware that the AEDs both at the community building died. So we're working on getting those either we can get some refurbished batteries for those that are there. Be the cheapest fix. Those are the only two AEDs like that. They're not compatible with any of the others in the county. If they had been, there was some spare batteries that we could have actually snagged to get at least one of them running or something like that. So
Who's been replacing them in the past?
these were put in after the remodel and
First time up.
yeah, I think from what I understand, they were purchased through public health. But that I don't have any documentation on that. That is just from what I was told. So Dr. Brown has been checking on things. He did send me some quotes on new machines that are supposed to be compatible. My personal thought, if we were to replace, buy something that's compatible, I don't believe for that building we need 2 units. I think we could do with 1. They had one upstairs and one downstairs, but it's not very far to go wherever you're at to snag one.
Depends on how old you are in the room.
Well, that's true. So, but
Must have been a reason they had to do that. I was not here, wasn't aware of how they came up.
and I'm not sure how they figured out the placement on it. So I would be good with, I think, going back with 1 if we replaced them. I think the bid on for the cheapest unit there that would be compatible is something like $1,100 and some dollars, $1,200.
Batteries, what, 500 or something?
We could get refurb batteries for, what do you say, 300 or 200?
Yeah, it was almost 800 for the 2.
Okay. So I don't know what your guys' druthers would be on that.
The cost to get it, I guess, see what he
So
comes up with.
in the interim, we are without there. We do have there is one over at the county shop and then 1 or 2 units at the firehouse in Wetmore, so. But nothing at the community building itself, so.
Gonna need that soon, I guess. So what are you gonna do? Bring it back?
Do we want to put that on an agenda item for Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, I think we probably should.
Okay.
See about that.
Get some options. Sounds like trade is 1 new one for 300 more than 2 batteries so far.
Yeah, so
We shouldn't get the batteries and then submit an application to the American Rescue Plan to buy
Can go several options.
what, 3 of them.
so
I don't know.
that would be our cheapest option, I think, is to go with them batteries, but you guys could mull it over. I guess we could all mull it over till our meeting and go from there.
Okay.
And so we've never had to use them yet, so hopefully we got another week in us. So I guess if we could get that on.
When did they expire? Okay. Month ago today?
It was right after the night after that dinner, so about a month ago now. And they both died within 30 minutes of each other.
Wow.
So
They've been a couple for a long time.
they couldn't have the remaining one. Couldn't handle it.
Thank you, Kelly.
And then Bill and I have both been in contact with Vince on that one road up there, so
All is well, apparently, because he's not been wanting to talk to me.
yeah, so
And it looks like and then Vince told me this morning that they did take care of that windrow, so that's good.
So I think that's probably a done deal on that. We did all go to the budget workshop after our last meeting. I was at the recovery committee meeting and we all attended the DA budget. And then Tom and I were here and you showed up for a few minutes there at the recycle grant
And it couldn't be there early.
meeting. So,
That went well, it sounds like.
and that's all I've got.
I'll go through my calendar. September 15th, attended the BOCC finance workshop here. The 16th, we had that American Rescue Plan Committee meeting here. The 21st of September, attended the weed board meeting here. They worked on the budget, a few other things. As Kevin mentioned, the district attorney budget hearing and fair play on the 24th. September 27th, I attended a recycle committee meeting, as Kevin had mentioned. And last night attended the sheriff's community dinner down in Wetmore. So that was my calendar. Then a couple of things I wanted to give you a report on the recycle developments. After our meeting, as in yesterday, I went out to the landfill and look at that building site for the proposed building. One of the things the committee never considered was the drainage that was going to be necessary around that building. So
You have to build it up.
well, they've got a drainage ditch cut around the perimeter of the pad for that building, but what that did was interfere with the whole plan of loading the recyclables into the baler from the north. There's just not going to be enough room, and so we made the decision yesterday to rotate the baler 180 degrees, so it will now be loaded from the south end of that building.
That's actually probably
And then
better.
the skid steer run in and unload, take the bales out of the baler from the north end and take them around and stack them. So makes a lot of sense to me, and Brian felt the same way, and of course Chris Nordyke agreed. So I called
That'd be better
her
than
and told her that that's what we strongly recommended, was we just rotate that baler 180 degrees. The only thing that really impacts is location of the bathroom in the office, of course, location of the pit where the elevator goes, and then the location of the drop for the electrical. So Joey and I have been communicating with Tyler, the owner of that company we're getting the baler from, and making sure he's aware of those changes. So that shouldn't matter too much.
Are they bringing that in underground, the power?
Yes. And then it'll run across the ceiling or the ceiling and drop down right to the control panel. So
You asked if it was coming overhead or what did you say?
underground.
Underground to the building.
I don't think that decision's been made yet with the engineering, but that was the request. So I'm assuming it will be. And so the building has been paid for and expected to be dropped here on site in January, which is a big deal for us because I clarified some things with Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment about reimbursement on this grant. And they agreed that once we had possession of anything tied to that recycle program, we could submit reimbursement requests.
So it doesn't have to be erected.
So as it goes along, as bills are submitted, they'll reimburse us.
Yeah, we have to make sure we're current on our reporting. Kendra made that very clear that, well, as long as you're current on all your reporting, then we will consider your reimbursement request. Yes, we know that,
Extortion.
Kendra, thank you. So originally the thought was we weren't going to be able to request reimbursement until after a phase of the project was completed, which would mean the building would have to be erected, which they think they can erect that building if they have decent weather in 2 weeks. So as it turns out, it's probably not too big a deal, but they want pictures and of course invoices and all that.
Yeah.
Before we reimburse. And then the contract says they have up to 45 days to cut a check and reimburse us for that. So, and I don't actually remember where that 92,500 came from. I think it was capital outlay, but I don't know.
Should have.
So we should be on track there. The concrete, 50-some thousand for that. As soon as that's in place, then we can take pictures of that and submit for a reimbursement request for that as well. So
Well, that'll be good.
yeah. I had a conversation with Joni yesterday. she's getting nervous now that the recycle project is not going to be self-sustaining for a period of time, which I understand that. They're not, until we hire somebody and really get that recycle deal up and running, we're not going to generate any revenue from that. And she asked me what I thought about assessing a fee to the landfill per cubic yard to offset. I said, personally, I don't think I will support that. I can't speak for the other commissioners, but, well, we used to have what they called a tipping fee. I said, well, I don't know what you used to have, but we're already assessing $1 a cubic yard for commercial land. It's our landfill to go to the.
You don't want to drive it out of it.
The rebuilding a new area landfill. So I said, I just don't know what the commissioners will think about subsidizing the recycle plan with a fee charged back to the landfill. I said, you're certainly welcome to make that presentation if you want.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate
So
that.
she said she would take that under advisement. And then the other thing I thought we ought to talk about, we did early this morning, and that is, shall we officially task public health with being in charge of all the defibrillators in the county? And so to that end, I would move that we shift the responsibility of managing the defibrillators to public health.
All defibrillators.
Yeah, all defibbed in the county.
I'll second that. It's the right idea. So you want to discuss it any further? I don't. She got some comments.
Just comment that that would alleviate something like the problem we've got now, where we've got some that are
Right.
they're non-compatible. We could it would be much more consistent and be able to stay on top of things.
Which is what it should have been in the first place. Just slipped by. Go
So
ahead.
therefore, we don't need to add the defibrillator discussion to the agenda. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know that automatically means public health has to buy them. That's why
No,
I
it's-
said manage.
And that's what happens in a lot of cases. We're responsible for the cash and the management of those things. Makes sense.
So, we'll deal with buying them however that comes along through grants or whatever.
Right.
I think the management of those, it would be appropriate for.
Sure. And then they can apply for grants for things, which they have. That's part of what they're looking at funding it with now. All right, all in favor, say aye. Kevin,
Hi.
Tom, and I.
And then the last thing, just real quick, I talked to Brian yesterday about this recycle thing. I cannot even remotely think about going to Grand Junction to look at that baler until the 18th of October. So he said he may run over there next week, take a bunch of pictures and some video. And
Who is it?
Brian Lockhart at Landfill.
Not to forget, you got to make an appointment to go one direction past Grand Junction or two there from over Monarch.
Yeah, he'll probably just take the black can.
Again, goes up around.
That's all I had.
Okay. That's it. Okay, it's similar. I'll save some time here. I did the same thing. One new thing that came up, Saddle Club is looking to, and I think you got an email. Tina, I'm looking for a grant to have us help support. We haven't seen it yet, so let's see what it's about. And then Cliff is working on, I guess I'd like to find out more about the outage and what that did to his vaccination program. If we get a chance to do that. You want to talk to him after we're done?
I can do that.
See where we really are. Sounds like a good thing. It might be a good thing to put a press release out and just let them know. I like the sign. It said October, what was it that came in on the way into town on shots and vaccination. Pretty good.
Vaccines.
Yeah.
COVID-free day. and
Yeah.
We're gonna change them again after the meeting.
Yeah.
Because we have a mobile vaccine clinic on Friday at the school.
Okay. And then CA, I'm going to work. That's Clint back there. He and I are going to work on the RFP. I've got some stuff I'm going to talk to you about after the meeting on the maintenance contract.
Okay.
And we'll try to get that for us to discuss on the second meeting of the first of the month, whatever day that is, 7th,
October 6th.
6th. If not, we'll get it ready when we do. I'd like to have that in place by the first of the year to get a maintenance contractor in here to take over new budget here. And that's all I have. Make sure to remind me to turn my phone on, Tina, because I lost it last week. Didn't get out of here.
If I may, sir,
Yeah,
just
go
real
ahead.
quick, I've gathered 4 samples of job descriptions for a county administrator. So I will compile up a draft job description and attach those, send those out to you.
Okay. All right. Next item, Clint.
Well, our last meeting was on September 15 in Wetmore. The next day I took off on an extended motorcycle trip. During the time, even though I announced I would not be available, I was in the middle of a flurry of emails back and forth, primarily between Dr. Brown and Sheriff Byerly about some emergency cleaning up, where some stuff had washed down. And I just kept responding.
You just can't help it, can you?
Well, I just kept responding in the evening.
That was your
The
fault.
only time I check my emails. I'll deal with it when I get back. I'll take a look. And then Jackie jumped in and started emailing me about an STR issue, a violation. And by the time I got back, they'd both been resolved. So the moral of this is pay me to just go on motorcycle trips and
Everything works out.
Yeah.
And then pay you late is the other motto we
No, pay me or not.
have.
And my motorcycle trip was a little over 2,500 miles. And it would have been longer than that, except I was way up in Powell, Wyoming one evening and called my wife and she said, I don't want you gone any longer. Come home tomorrow.
Oh, my Lord.
669-mile motorcycle ride, I-25 down through Denver.
That was fun.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the most dangerous part of your trip.
That really was. I mean, that and one place where a bevy of quail were out in the middle of the road in the middle of nowhere. And they were just,
Feathers all over your
well,
helmet.
they were just, I could see them, I thought they were, scavengers eating something, but they were just standing there. So I had plenty of time to slow down. I slowed down and they kind of ran around in a circle for a while discussing which way we're going to go. And I slowed
What
down
happened?
more. Then they all ran off to the right side and I veered over to the left side. And then one of the quails thought, no, I'm going to go that way. And I almost ran over it. I had to swerve so hard, I almost lost control of the motorcycle. Anyway, and then,
As we tell 16-year-olds, never make an invasive move for a small animal. Just
That's right. You got to plow into it.
wipe it out and save yourself.
Well,
energy.
I probably could have avoided that, but, and then when I was coming down I-25, by those Castle Rock factory outlet stores.
It swerved in to talk to them, didn't it?
No, the pickup truck in front of me suddenly hit its brakes very hard and swerved to the right. And I couldn't figure out why until I saw that the pickup truck ahead of him had lost its load. on the road.
Oh, man, and there you were.
Furniture, big plastic containers of clothing, everything was flying out in the middle of the road. So I managed to avoid that too, so. Fortunately or unfortunately, you got me back.
God's protecting the county. The attorney's back.
Yeah,
Maybe you better just stay home.
that's my wife's feeling.
Yeah, but
So the 2 other things, well, one is I wrote the letter at Charles Vogel's request that's on the agenda today to purchase some other lots from Colorado College for attainable housing. I'd like to give a very short report. Last Thursday, a week ago today, there was an event called Rural Philanthropy Days, and Debbie Adam, I think, is listening in, so she's aware of it too. I mean, she had a lot to do with getting this set up, but it was foundations, I think there was as many as 40 involved, Colorado foundations that give grants, and this was primarily for tourism. And they actually came here, which was very unusual. Usually, we go to them, the nonprofits go meet. It's been in the past in Canyon City when they've held these gatherings, but they came here. And as the president of Dark Skies, I was flattered that they actually came down to the observatory because we had some amphitheater seating there. It was a beautiful morning and I made a presentation and then they went around and talked to other nonprofits as well. And I've gotten some very good feedback on that they're interested, they loved it. The ones who'd never been here before fell in love with the valley and are very interested in helping out with various projects that would primarily promote tourism. So I thought that was good. And I want to thank Debbie for all the hard work she's done on promoting tourism. And she's been a big champion for Dark Skies as well. I did talk to Jackie about that short-term rental thing a little bit more when we got back, but that pretty much did get all worked out without me having to get involved doing anything. And I guess I'm going to save this other juicy tidbit until a little bit later on. So I was going to tell you now, October 21 will be my 50th anniversary as a licensed attorney, but I was afraid, you'd try to schedule a parade and everything. So I thought I'd.
Yeah, we'll hold back, Clint.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's already been scheduled. hasn't it? So I think we told-
There was a budget line item.
$3 for a permit fee. And
The other thing, Kevin, and I don't know if you want me to bring this up now or not, Kevin, but I've looked through this about the issue with moving the Lone Pine window from the Wetmore Community Center to the museum. And the documents you gave me, it's clear to me that, that's not specifically addressed, but I think it's a responsibility of the Historical Society to do it. How is this window displayed? Is it hanging somewhere?
The historical society, my bad. Historical Society did have it framed and the framer mounted it to the wall in that north room. The library is now seeking to put some maps in there for down somewhat low so that the school age kids could be using them and things of that nature.
That's why they want to move it.
Yes, and the original agreement was they were going to bring a bunch of artifacts and things of that nature
Right.
in. The only thing that actually showed up basically was that window.
And the piano?
The piano never did make it, I don't believe.
Okay.
find anybody to get it up there.
So most of their items are stored in a trailer, I believe, in a member's yard. And basically the only thing that's there is this window.
Is it going to do damage to take this window out? Is it going to be covered up by the maps or do you have any idea?
I think I think the nature of the wall was they had to drill in and put anchors in there for it. But those will be covered up with the maps. So I don't think there will be any damage that way.
All right.
I think it boils down to who's going to move the window to the Price Museum in Florence and be responsible for it.
Do you have any idea what the cost would be to hire some professional to do this?
I do not.
Because from looking through the memorandum of understanding, all the agreements are actually between the Wetmore Community Board and Historical Society. I don't see any actual binding agreements between the county itself. So I guess the question is, if they need assistance, how much is it going to cost? And does the county want to help out, through the community outreach, maybe to help them move it or something? But I don't see any legal obligation on the part of the county or the community board to pay anything for that.
Okay. So the only other question that they had was if nothing did happen, how they might want to proceed.
Well, because the community, they want to get it out of there, I guess.
Yeah.
How big is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember how big.
It's a little bigger than this frame right here, about the same size, I guess.
Not a big deal.
And Price is willing to accept it.
From my understanding is Price is willing to take the window.
I don't have a
When I go
problem.
down there and move it, haul it. It's not
Easy to do.
Okay.
So if you need me to do that, I'll be willing.
Another problem solved, my job is done.
Anything that.
Well, shoot, we can't. I was looking forward to something later. Now,
That's,
meeting's crescendoed already.
yeah, I know. But that's the way it always is. And after the attorney report, it all goes downhill.
That's true.
I'm finished with that.
All right, Tina.
I have nothing today.
Okay, good. All right, any comments on something other than what we're going to discuss here in a little bit? Any comments, public comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
Well, is that would be who? That sounds like Debbie.
You got it, Bill.
Go for it.
So I'm asking questions as I seek to understand how things operate. First off, are there bylaws of governance for county commissioners aside from the Colorado Revised Statute 3011-107? Are there other bylaws of governance?
Not at the county
Not that
level.
I know of.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because there seems to be a great lack of reporting with bylaws. Now, with the tourism bylaws, we are directed to distribute draft minutes of each meeting no later than 10 days after the meeting. And it was only this past week that August 3rd, 4th got posted, and then you've just approved August 18 and 31, but September 8th and 15th are not posted yet. So I'm wondering about the lag on the minutes. But my other concern is on the website, and I'm just going to list this. As far as minutes go, the Office of Emergency Management only has minutes posted from 2018. Affordable Housing only has minutes from 2017 and 2018. The Fair Board was last posted in 2019. The Board of Health was last posted in July. We do have a pandemic going on. I would hope that they would be more current. The airport has not posted minutes since June. The Weed Board, not since June. Wetmore Community Library only has 2017 and 2018 posted, same as Wetmore Community Center. High Country Recycling only has minutes from 2018, and Economic Development seems to stop in 2009. I have an understanding that Economic Development has kind of gone more private under Charles Bogle. So with all that is going on in the county, I'm just wondering, where are all the minutes? I also want to know, there have been 2 workshops for the American Rescue Act plan. I believe from what I've seen that Custer County will be receiving over $984,000. So my question for that is, who is on the committee and are there minutes available so that citizens know how the BOCC is distributing the money? So that's my question, is basically, where are all the minutes?
Good question. Go ahead, Kelly.
I could speak to the BOCC minutes, Deb. I do those. I am behind. My office has been very, very busy this summer. I come in early, I leave late. I try to keep up with them the best I can.
Okay, I understand that, Kelly, but where are all the other minutes of all the other entities that are under the BOCC? I mean, Office of Emergency Management, not since 2018. Affordable Housing, just
Got it, Deb. We got it. Heard you.
So-
You can bring up good points.
If I may weigh in, Office of Emergency Management really wouldn't have minutes because they don't have meetings. That's a department.
Right.
You're correct in your assessment of the Economic Development Corporation. That has nothing to do with the county. What they do with their minutes is their business. You're also correct in some of those organizations you mentioned, such as the Weed Board, their last meeting was June.
okay,
So
Okay.
there are some circumstances to why there are not monthly minutes posted in quote unquote, a timely fashion. I'm not saying that those other entities you mentioned shouldn't have minutes posted. I believe they should. We don't have bylaws. We're not under any document indicating when we have to post our minutes as a BOCC, although I agree, you know, the sooner we get them done, the better. The American Rescue Plan Act Committee has met twice within the last month. So we could certainly follow up on that. It's not an unreasonable request. You're exactly right.
So
And
what,
they just got started. And the other thing that I'll mention is they, other boards like the airport board, et cetera, departments that report to us in a public meeting for the record, that's where the notification to the public really occurs. Other than that board, all those boards are open to the public anyway.
Yeah, airport board should post their
They
minutes
should, they
on
can
the
post them on the
website.
website.
And they do when they happen.
Right.
so what, Bill, what I would like to do is just basically send you all an email of what I just put out there. Also, you know, this town is very much community minded with volunteers, and then there's all these different meetings going on, but yet I don't know exactly the best way to find out when the meetings are. Now, I know for the BOCC that you have a calendar that you set up a year in advance with your meetings. And what I am wondering about is if it is appropriate that the other entities, which are all public meetings, if it's possible that they are also so noted on the calendar. So if anyone wants to know what's going on or go to a meeting, that they would know when it's happening, besides, you know, trying to find it lost in the paper. Is that possible, or the BOCC calendar is specifically for BOCC? And it looks like the only other entity is the Planning Commission that is on the calendar.
Yeah, and then that's certainly a good suggestion. One thing I will point out, a lot of those committees meet at a set time of the month, like the second Thursday of the
Yes.
month is, or the third Thursday is when the airport meets. That can be published and made available on the website for that matter, on their websites as well. So something to consider, and we can certainly take a look at it. Send it into it.
Okay, and then the last question I have, I know you brought it up at a meeting that I was at, and Tom, you just brought it up today about a draft for county administrator, and I have to ask, where would those funds come from?
We haven't considered it yet, so let's wait until he presents it. We haven't even thought about it, and we all have our opinions right now. Let's wait.
As all other salaries do, if that was a funded position, it would come from the general fund.
That's right.
Okay. And then the last question I have, I know October is right around the corner, and I believe that that is a time when you review budgets. And my concern is that tourism has not gotten any notification about submitting our 2022 proposed budget. So I just want to make sure we're not, we didn't miss something.
Okay, we'll ask Tina, did you send out a notice to tourism or not?
About budgets, no.
Okay, we'll get that to you today.
So I mean, are you still on track that in October is when you review that?
It's 15 through whatever it is, 12 through that whole week, except Monday.
13th.
I think Braden has a response on that. I think.
Well,
Yeah, Deb, I can speak to that. Things have been just slow moving there to try to figure out, especially revenue side, and then just the process moving forward. So I don't believe that's under Tina's purview at all as far as you all are concerned. I did receive the email that you had for what you're expecting for this year, and I have not sent out to any department at this point what that budget process looks like. But that is all still correct. The hearings being then, and those will be going out before the end of the week for each department.
Yeah, you are definitely part of the team there, Debbie, and have to be part of it. So
Okay, Okay, thank you for answering my questions, and I will follow up with an email.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, let's move on. Any unfinished business, Tom,
I have no.
Kevin?
No,
I
sir.
don't either. All right, so let's move. It's 9:45, so we're doing fine. We've got 5 items to discuss today. New business and comments are going to be allowed before we vote on anything, if appropriate. So first item up would be Braden, with the consideration for approving vouchers and signing of the checks. And we got those. And Braden, you've been pretty busy, and it's been a moving window, and it to get it prepared.
Yeah,
So go ahead and let us know what, introduce this to us.
yeah, sure thing. So again, same report as always, just the accounts payable report and the cycle report, as well as the payroll report. That again, we'll be shooting for an earlier date to get that to you all for reporting, but with staff changes and training and just trying to get all that handled amongst budget as well. It's continued to be very much the day before that you get that report. So know that that's not hopefully the rule, but we'll get that straightened out. Okay. Are there any questions on those reports?
I do have one, if I may, sir.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. I believe it was in accounts payable. I'm looking for it right now. I saw that there was a invoice for room rental for Rancher's Roost. It was way late on that document like this. See what page that was. And the question I have is, it appears that that was paid out of course, I can't find it when I'm looking for it. Was paid out of capital outlay.
Page 60.
Thank you. No wonder I'm at page 40. Correct, yeah. So I just didn't quite understand. I see Fund 50 is capital improvement, and then the department was Wetmore Community Center, and the actual invoice was for Rancher's Roost. So I was a little confused about that. I'm assuming it did come out of capital improvement.
Yes. That's
And
correct.
why is Wetmore Community Center stuck in there? Any idea about that?
We continue to have an issue with that coming up
Okay,
as the name. That's not truly the
Okay.
name there.
right.
They just like to have events.
I guess you do. But the bottom line is we did pay $60 and it did come out of capital outlay, or capital improvement, which I guess I would question that a little bit. I think there would be a different fund that'd be more appropriate for room rental than capital outlay, but just a question. I don't know.
I don't have a good, easy way of looking back to see
Okay,
who that was submitted by.
okay,
I
well,
don't think it was not our office that would have put that in.
Right.
So let me look into that.
okay, thank you. Other than that, I think that was the only question I had that I hadn't got answered.
I submitted that on behalf of Anthony.
Okay.
And that was the code that I was told to use.
Okay.
On behalf of who?
And Barthrop.
For the
Justice Center presentation.
Which is probably, that would be the only place that we have anything for the Justice Center.
And that's why that was the
that.
code I was told to use for Justice Center.
Yeah, doesn't make sense to me, but rent is not capital outlay by any means, so.
No, but it would have to be moved if it isn't, and to fix it to whatever. You're gonna have to, you're working off subcategories now, but you said miscellaneous before was.
Well, and currently, we don't have a department that is Justice Center. So I guess my question would be where, if this is the only place that we have any place to spend for the Justice
Right,
Center.
but why wouldn't it be categorized as room rental, meeting rental, broad category for everything? You would other organizations would be part of as well.
There would be, but we don't have the Justice Center
Yeah, I know.
listed.
I get it. So
You know, I'm assuming the $10,000 we approved for expenditures to the Justice Center project,
Mhm.
that money must be housed in capital outlay.
that's right.
So yeah, I guess my question would be, or I guess seeing it this way, we would have to do another budget resolution to create
Another
a place for that to go if this isn't accepted.
Given the fact that if that's where the $10,000 ended up, it makes sense that that's where it
That's
came
what
out.
my,
Does capital outlay have, like in my 210 and my 250, I have operating supplies, meetings.
No.
What, does it have all those? things?
Capital outlay. does
Oh, it
not.
doesn't.
No.
So that's why it ends up.
your operating
Yeah,
expense.
it's the 50 fund, so it is the capital improvement fund, and then it's just capital outlay. It doesn't, it's broken out more than that for that fund.
Tina,
I was told that that was where the Justice Center money was put, that $10,000, and that's why I was given that code to use it for.
Right.
For that meeting.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
I apologize. I didn't mean to
that's
say that.
Okay.
I'm sure that came from Barbie release.
Kevin, you got any comments on the
Or-
budget? Any more, Tom?
No.
No. Neither do I, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the,
I don't know what order we want to go in. I'd move to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $504,031.77.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $504,031.77. All in favor, say aye.
Hi,
Tom?
Aye.
Can I? Next, checks, right? What's the other one?
Whichever you want to deal with. Out of cycle.
Out of cycle checks, probably. One up.
What you get is pretty healthy this month, wasn't it?
Oh, it's not
Big
activity.
piece of that being that 97,000 for construction.
Right.
Right. Take that out of there, it's 20-some thousand, which isn't too bad. And up to the honorable Mr. Day.
You want to do it?
yeah,
Kevin?
oh, just another, I see we're still working on getting the credit cards in cycle. So that would pull quite a bit out of it as well if we did that.
Yeah, that was another one. That was, we last month.
Looking pretty good,
Huge
actually.
huge thanks and kudos to Tina on getting everything straightened out. We then paid up through August. And so then we had some that were waiting that we wanted to hold off on until we got all of that straightened out and then paid everything after that. So we should be
Getting caught
as far
up.
as I know, caught up and not having any issues as far as credit limits or anything like that.
And I also want to let you know that this morning I received an email from Kirkpatrick Bank before the meeting that they are currently in process of training their staff on how to take our check to pay TCM to where we can walk over to Kirkpatrick Bank or drive over to Kirkpatrick Bank, give them the check, and it gets posted to our account as opposed to having to mail it.
Good.
Which is huge. Last month, for example, we had a couple of deputies that were out in Kansas. Their card got declined and had to use their personal card. There was nothing we could do about it at that point to actually get that rectified.
Right.
So this will be huge. Thank you.
Okay,
I move that we accept the out of cycle report in the amount of $116,712.98.
One second.
it's been moved and seconded to accept the out of cycle voucher checks at amount of $116,712.98. Any other points?
I do have, sir.
Yeah.
On the IT corner lines at the bottom of that first page, the 1226 account. I see that maybe I'm misreading that, the invoice amounts,
All right.
is that, yeah, I show 4 invoice amounts there of 2760.11, but then the ledger amounts are different. Is that that invoice amount?
That's true with all of those.
Yeah, I'm not quite tracking that.
That should, those 4 numbers on the right, the ledger amount should add up to the total invoice amount. So it was one check that went out. That was those 4 ledger amounts.
$2,760.11.
So that 395, 982.
Right.
537 add up to.
Okay, so it's just my ignorance in the accounting system here, why that shows.
Because that's true on a couple
4
others
times.
above it.
Yeah. Okay,
That's correct.
okay.
Yeah, so anything, if we look all the way to the left, it shows the invoice number.
Mhm.
Because there's only one check that's written that might
Covers those
multiple
charges.
people that have actually
I see.
submitted for that invoice.
I get it.
It'll all add together.
That makes sense.
It appears that there were 4 checks written in those 4 amounts, but that's not the case.
No, there's one check written for the.
Per account number.
Yeah.
That's why you'll see some up above that are similar, and yet not.
Correct. If you look there, if there's an invoice, it's just one invoice,
Mhm.
those ledger amounts and the invoice amounts match.
Yep.
If there's multiple, then the 2 added together is what the total is. for
Yeah.
both of those.
So that 1085 is a good example of the top 2.
Top 2 are good ones.
Yes, correct.
Okay, good question. Thanks. We're learning a new system. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Tom,
Aye.
Kevin? Aye. Kanda, aye.
And I would move to approve the payroll report for 9/30/2021
I'll second that.
in the amount of $343,620.80, $343,623, $620.
That 324.
Where is it? I can't see it.
It's the 324.
Sorry, I keep going down to that gross amount, and that's not correct. My apologies, yeah.
So what is it?
$324,741.42.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the payroll report of $324,741.42. Any other points on that? All in favor, say aye. Kevin? Aye. Tom?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Okay,
Did you second that?
Off the top of your head, how many employees in public health? No. Was looking at the comparative gross pay amounts per department and was a little surprised about public health, but
meaning it's high or low?
it was higher than I expected. I just didn't.
Yeah, that includes the grants probably, I guess. Money. And they had extra hired hands, I guess. We'll have to find out when they were in the heat of battle. All right, any other issues on that? We're good with that one.
7.
7, thank you.
Thanks, Braden. Okay, your dentist is waiting.
Yay.
One tooth pulling to the next one.
Sorry.
Yeah, just kidding.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
It won't be as painful.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's
that's
painful.
right.
Less people are impacted. All right, next item, is consideration of short-term rental permit recommendations. And who's got that one? Since Jackie's not here.
Yeah, I'm gonna move to postpone this
Yeah.
because we just had this conversation at the last meeting that we are supposed to look at all the documentation pertaining to those short-term rental applications, and all we have is the approval letters. So
She sent a bunch out last week.
she did. real quick.
What day that was, maybe. I have to go look at my email. Maybe Thursday or Friday.
Oh, I see your minutes.
Get this email on the 12th.
I don't think it was that far back. I think it was last week.
I didn't get them, sorry.
She's,
Was Miller one of them for today?
Yes.
yes.
And let me check again real quick. I may have. She did send out the documents for Andrew Miller. That was on the 12th.
So that- Yeah, she sent them
That's the only one I've found so far.
out. Andrew and Yanetha. I did talk to her a couple of days ago and asked her what short-term, how the process was going, and she said everything doing well. But I didn't get any other details other than that they looked at the packet.
If you want to move that to next week, I can forward that email to you guys.
Yeah, I'm looking here at another one. Man, I can't
Forward it
read
anyway.
it. Chavanon was one of them for today.
Yeah.
Stanberry.
I think that she came in like 4 shots and they're scattered
Um,
from what I see.
And then Pinewood Properties.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're, she sent one as early as the 3rd.
yeah, that's the one I'm looking at now. Is the one on the 3rd. So I would withdraw that motion to postpone. We did get those.
Yeah, and they had the times on there, like the 13th and 20th when they did.
Um,
Happy with it when
Did you see that, Kevin?
Yes, I had seen them when I got them, and I've since filed them. I'm looking for them at the present time.
Yeah, I did see that first one on Miller, and then I remember getting that packet on the 3rd, but when I went back to look, I thought, no, it's not gonna be that far back. But
And she told me personally on all of them that they went, everybody's participating and everything's cooperating, everything's going faster and better than what she thought. I like it. So I move that we accept the short-term rental permit recommendations that she had presented to us.
we want to list those out for the record.
I have to find all in the same order.
Yeah, those sheets.
I've got them. Put the computer away. All right, it's Andrew Miller. Pinewood Properties. Chavanon Rentals, Chavanon Rentals. That's it.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the 3 applications that Jackie forwarded to us for the short-term rental filings of Miller, Pinewood Properties, and Chavanon. Any discussion, other discussion?
No, sir.
I will.
Okay, all in favor, say aye, Tom.
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
And aye.
I can bring it up during public comment. I do have another item I wanted to bring to the board. I totally forgot that, so I'm going to do it. I'll make a note of that under public comment time, I guess, unless we
No, let's wait.
additional items, I'll put it into
Not
that.
yet. Oh, these aren't signable.
They're not.
Oh, I've got these. I'll give these to
Yeah,
you.
you have the originals.
I've got the original.
Please sign.
Okay. I'll do it.
Please sign.
While I'm doing that, the next one is the revenue sales. Who's doing that one? Department of Revenue and Sales, Lodging Tax, MOU.
Probably Her Highness over there, I would guess. I like to once in a while.
Okay, go ahead. What do you got?
I'll trade you.
I'll give
You don't get the new one until you hand over the old one.
Yeah,
Evidently.
we're keeping on top of you today.
I appreciate that too.
Okay, so this is the annual MOU with Department of Revenue for the sales tax and for the lodging tax. There's one for each there. And it's just between the county and Department of Revenue, stating who the person is that looks over that, which is me. And that's it. It's just their annual. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I saw it.
I did have a question for you about that, Kelly, as well.
Okay.
And it's appropriate.
Okay, I move we accept the MOU for the control of confidential data is the way it's titled, Department of Revenue. Moved and seconded for to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Department of Revenue for sales tax and lodging tax. Any discussion, Tom?
Yeah, Kelly, is it your department's responsibility to notify the state of all open and closed accounts, or do they track those?
No, they track those.
So if we had a business here that was open, literally, and then closed down, do you notify the state of that, or do the business owners notify them? How's
No.
that handled?
And it's sort of,
If they die on the vine,
yeah, it's sort of like
don't know
if a business opens, a new business opens, then when I look at the reports, I just try to make sure that they're on there and submitting their taxes. Then if they close, I don't really follow that because it's not,
you just don't
it's
get a
my
report.
responsibility just to make sure that that businesses are submitting. Yeah, and they just wouldn't be on the report anymore, I
So if they
guess.
close down, the state would see that there's no longer a tax report being filed.
Yeah, and I would
And
say
you would
that
see
they
that.
would, yeah, and I would say that they would maybe notify them and say, hey, you're not filing these, why? And then they get a thing back saying, because we're closed. Okay, now you gotta file this report saying you're officially closed.
Not that I agree with everything in here, but I'm gonna vote to pass it because I do think we should be privy to some tax information that we're not. But that's way above our pay grade because state legislators decided we're not entitled to know that stuff.
And you are privy to some of it. So
Yes,
like,
Some we see it in, when we get it,
yeah,
but we don't know who.
just not the who.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which I guess is okay. We know when businesses close, more or less, at least in a small town, but you wouldn't in a big town.
Yeah, I don't know how a big town keeps track
I
of
don't know
it.
how they would,
It's,
that would be hard to.
I mean, the list that I get every month is about, it's over 100 pages.
Wow.
And there's probably,
Could you imagine what that would be if that was statewide?
Yeah.
yeah. because you imagine.
Yeah, I mean, case in point would be if one of these short-term rentals decides to close. I don't think we have anything in the zoning resolution about addressing the closure of a short-term rental either. I guess when the state quits receiving the tax payments from those businesses.
See, they're required.
And I was gonna say, I would think that they'd be required.
They're required
to
every
file
year to
something say,
file.
I'm not.
I do know that's the case with, we have a business. I know that's the case with corporations, S corps and others. Every year you're
File like
obligated
that,
to
you're
file
looking
your
for it.
status and it's very cheap. You just go in there and say, yep. And then if you miss the deadline, you get a penalty of $50.
Yeah.
And then if you don't do that, then you die on the vine. You're no longer valid. But anyway,
That's all I had, sir.
Kevin, you got any other?
No, sir.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the memorandum of understanding for the control of confidential data, in this case, the sales tax and lodging tax. Two pieces of separate paper. All in favor, say aye. Tom?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
And aye.
And then I assume you and the chairman signs that document.
Yeah, that's right.
Way to stay on.
Yes, it's always good to get it done. Next item, we're ready. Everybody good? Is the consideration for an offer to purchase letter to Colorado College. And I assume somebody's online to handle that.
Is Charles Bogle online?
No. I assumed Mr. Attorney would deal with that.
Well,
It's just an assumption.
I got a request from Charles Bogle to make a formal written request to purchase those 7 lots in Silver Cliff for attainable housing. So I prepared the letter for your signature, Chairman, if it's approved, and that'll start the process to buy some more lots for development, which attainable housing will be handling. I think that's the same price we paid per lot for the other ones.
I would move to approve the offer to Colorado College in the amount of $21,000 for said lots.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the sale of the lots,
Purchase.
or purchase of the lots from Colorado College. 21,000. I did.
Okay, sorry.
All right, discussion, I have an objection to it right now. Here's why. I think we have, and this is just people asking me questions, the committee that we have to disperse the ARPA funds is considering things like that. It probably, and that was one of the thoughts that I know they were having, is to work using some of that money to actually build one or get the process going, match grants, whatever I don't know what they're going to do. They need to present it as an option. And it may be worth waiting to find out what those ideas are. We know Charles did the last group, and they're going down a path for certain kinds of housing, whatever their design is going to be. It might be different if we get another presentation. So I would like to wait on this until we get more people involved. I think it would be appropriate.
Well, we've already approved the purchase of those.
I know,
It's already
I
done
thought
deal.
it was, but weren't they weren't, these are new.
No,
No.
Are these the same ones?
this is the letter
Oh.
to cover the same.
I thought it was the,
No.
oh,
No, these are the ones that we said this would be the
That's how-
last time we expend ARPA dollars.
Okay.
Outside of that.
All right.
committee.
that's why, so that.
No, I get your point. I thought
It
this
came
was
across as a
additional
brand new,
property.
he wants
No.
to purchase new ones and
No.
Charles is not here to do it.
These are the same 7 lots that we've already approved.
All right.
We're
That
just
makes more
approving this document to be sent forward.
I'm good with it then. Any other discussion?
No, sir. That was going to be my point.
Yeah, I had a an extended conversation with Mayor Winkie about many topics. This was one of them. And of course, as the mayor of Silver Cliff, he wanted to know why we were buying
Not Winky,
properties. What did I say?
You said Silver Cliff, it's West.
Oh, West Cliff Mayor,
All right.
sorry, yeah, Paul Winky. And he said, well, why are you buying in Silver Cliff? I said, well, that happens to be where they are. I said, it has nothing to do with which town they're in. That wasn't the decision maker. It was the fact that's where the lots physically are.
Is there any of them that are in West Cliff?
No, they're on, so I think so. So I said, I would assume the commissioners would give equal consideration to land that was available at this price, which I know there isn't in West Cliff if that were the case, and that seemed to satisfy him, but I got kind of tickled about that.
Yeah.
It's where they're at.
And a private entity could come in and ask for the funds to do that too, if they wanted to buy a separate lot. All right, any other questions? All right, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of purchase to Colorado College. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Kevin? Aye. Kanda, aye. Okay, here's a last consideration, which appeared on our computers about a week ago, Monday, I think it was. And this is consideration of an acceptance of letter of resignation by our road and bridge supervisor. Any discussion on that?
I would ask that you read, well, yeah, maybe you should read that and then we make a motion
All right.
pertinent to it.
That letter being, dear county commissioners, I have reached a juncture in my life where I've decided to step down as the Custer County Road and Bridge Supervisor. Please accept this office as an official, I should say, notice of my resignation as supervisor of the Custer County Road and Bridge Department. Last day will be 12/15/21. Sincerely, Gary Hyde, County Road and Bridge Supervisor.
I would move to accept his letter of resignation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the letter of resignation by our road and bridge supervisor. Any discussion?
I've had a couple conversations with him since receiving this. Not going to make public all the content of those conversations, but one of the things that I think is pertinent and appropriate to bring up in this meeting was that I thanked him for lack of a better word, an early notification of that.
That's pretty darn early. Thank you.
So I said that once we formally accept your resignation, then that enables us to actively seek applications for that position. I said, you know, it's nice to have this much time to do that. And he said, well, that was the intent. Plus, I wanted to make sure that there was time built into this calendar for transitional training. So he said, I'm more than willing to help train a new supervisor if we can get one on.
That'd be pretty quick.
So that's good. Okay, well, I appreciated that.
Gary, did you talk to him?
I have not personally spoken with him, so I know he's going to be back this next week. I was going to reach out and touch base with him there.
Yeah, I had a conversation several of them with him too. And one thing I would like to say is we get lots of complaints, and the oddest complaint I got was the fact that the roads are too good, which happened down on Oak Creek, I think is what it was. And he was serious. And I said, yeah, it's just too good, and everybody's speeding now. So Gary was concentrating a lot on using the funds as best he could to get the best bang out of the buck, and we were doing it. So I appreciate all the work that he's done for sure. And I know we'll have some time to have a party and some time to find out who else is going to be interested in this job. And that'll be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, and I certainly expect we look to Gary and be able to post this in the appropriate sites so that we get the big term these days is national search, but yeah, we can, I'm assuming he'll be here for his staff report, so maybe we can have that conversation.
Yes, I know he's, in fact, I talked to Vince this morning and asked him when Gary was going to be back. He said he'll be planning to be here Monday and be in the meeting Tuesday. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting the resignation of our county road and bridge supervisor, Gary Hyde, say aye. Tom?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. All right, we're down to any other additional items unless somebody wants to take a break. I'm good with going on.
No, I'd prefer to press on.
Good. All right. Okay, next item up is just anything else new you want to discuss that? You want to wait till comments?
No, I'd do it in additional items if I may.
And he's raising his.
Oh, I just got one, I forgot to report as an attorney item. I got a judgment last December against the individual, this was through planning, against the individual who thought his method of disposing of human waste was superior to what's required. And we got $1,000 judgment. He did come in and pay that with interest. $1,000 plus $61.16 of, I'm just looking at my notes, yeah, $16.61. The interest wasn't a whole lot, but he came in and paid in full.
Immediately.
It was reported to me that even though he's put in the new septic system as required, that the individuals that took the payment felt like maybe he was applying some of the stuff to himself at that point instead, because they had to pretty much sanitize the office after he left. But I won't go beyond that. He has the septic, whether he's actually using it or not is another question. But yeah, he's got the septic.
And that may be a valid question. I have a septic, that doesn't mean I have to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
Until he gets another citation from the sanitary.
If we find out that's what's going on. The other thing was there was a email sent out from Sheriff Barley to all of you and to me about an inquiry he had from a citizen about the pros and cons and how was that done. And I meant to ask Kelly about that sooner. Who writes up the cons, when the official thing goes out, who determines how that language reads on the ballot issue for the Justice Center?
In this case, it came from the Justice Center Committee.
Okay, but that would just be the reason why, but who writes up something on the other side?
Anybody
On the
that,
cons, anybody that wants to submit something can.
And what's the deadline for getting that done?
It was, where are we at? The 30th? It was the 17th.
So it's already come and gone.
Yeah, they've already been mailed
That
out.
document was mailed out and I got mine yesterday.
yeah, I got mine yesterday too. Just had the
You
pros
should
on it.
stay home and check your mail once in a while. Too much motorcycling.
Traveling man.
Yeah.
What can I say?
No, that's a good question, and people have asked it because you see those ballots all the time, and you see pros and cons on everything. You don't realize it that a citizen, anybody can submit them, but nobody knows that. I don't know where it's written down and what the process is. But that's the way it is.
Well, then I should respond, since we all got that, I should respond saying that was, I'm sorry, it was the date again, the
I
17th.
think it was the 17th, yeah.
All right, so that's already come and gone. So that thing that came out, which I got, but I haven't looked at yet, is all it's going to say about that.
Yeah, you ought to respond back. I did talk to him as well.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. I'll let him know how that worked, because I really wasn't sure. I knew Kelly would have the answer.
And we had a brief conversation at a prior meeting about those dates. I do remember talking
Yeah,
about.
I'll give the pros are getting in, and when we mentioned cons, but not.
And when I visited with Secretary of State about it, they said that it should be advertised, but committees don't generally do that, and that most of the statements come from the committees.
Okay.
So who should advertise that? That's a good
The
question.
committee should.
When we had that committee,
Looking for cons and pros.
we probably should have put something in the paper after that committee was dissolved. But
Yeah, that's a learning experience for all of us. Okay, anything else, Clint? Tom?
No, those were the things I wanted to talk about.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
sure. On the 21st, I believe, let me double check that, because that might be a Saturday. That might be correct. Uh,
21st October?
Yeah, no, September.
That was a Tuesday.
That was a Tuesday.
Yeah,
That was Tuesday.
I think that was the date. I can dig out the records, but the Office of Emergency Manager and myself took a little tour
Oh, yeah.
of the Cuerno Verde Fire Mitigation Project. There's 11 properties that was involved in that. Obviously, we rejected those bids to have that work done. And so we spent most of the morning and went out. We looked randomly, we picked 6 of those properties to go look at. Adrian was very adamant about, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself. I'd like for you to get out of the vehicle. I'll get out with you. If you have any questions, I'll answer them the best I can. But he said, I'm not going to prejudice your opinions about any of this. As a former CAL FIRE employee of 28 years or something, he said, you just look. I said, okay. So we looked at those 6 properties. And it was very obvious to me that we made the right decision. Clearly, in my opinion, the bids were extraordinarily high for the work that was scheduled to be done. The plan was to encircle any given property with a 100-foot radius. And then the Colorado State Forester marked the trees that were to be removed. In the 6 properties we looked at, both of us could only find one tree with a trunk diameter more than about 6 or 7 inches in a 100-foot radius of the structure of the residence. In my opinion, all of the rest of those marked trees were probably no bigger maybe than 14 feet high. They were misshapen, weird growth pattern out at an angle, small trees between 2 big trees within 100 feet of the house. Clearly to me, that was all an intent for landscape beautification. It was a mockery, in my opinion, to consider that fire mitigation. I've got pictures on my phone. I meant to send those to you guys. It just got by me. A 12 to 14 foot tree touching a propane tank was never marked. A small undergrowth pine tree between 2 large pine trees was marked, but not the 2 large pine trees. One of the properties we looked at had already done significant fire mitigation. You could tell that when you drove up the driveway, open space all the way around and so on and so forth. I would say most of it's not fair to call them trees. Most of the plants that were marked with blue paint to be removed had nothing to do with fire mitigation.
Who in theory marked them blue?
But no theory. The Colorado State Forester, and we were given his name, and I wrote it down at our last meeting when we considered those. I'm going to have a conversation with him because it is absolutely asinine how they went about that. You just have to go to really understand. I just shook my head at every property we went to. Big trees, and I understand landowners don't want to cut down big trees. Big trees, canopy hanging over wooden decks, wood frame structures, log homes, not marked for removal. So had I done that, and I will again, I can assure you that I won't vote on another fire mitigation project without looking at it myself. But had I voted or had the opportunity to vote now, I would say I'm voting against all of it because it's not fire mitigation, it's landscape beautification. And I knew some of those people personally. And one person said, boy, I would really appreciate just picking up a bunch of my dead branches around. Has nothing to do with fire mitigation. We made the right call, in my opinion, maybe for the wrong reason. I won't support that fire mitigation project the way it is, just
No,
absolutely
I have the
ridiculous.
same impression. I've talked to Adrian too about it.
So,
But I think that Forrester owes us the process that he used to select what he did, period. I put him on for sure. And then I am in favor. I don't know why, plan spreading the amount of grants we have available to incentivize people and let them sell their own timber, make the money back, make the deals with the forest. Otherwise, it's exactly what happened. They just drive the price up to whatever the government's going to pay, and they just take it and run with it.
there was no timber involved in any of
I know
the
it. That's the problem.
properties.
That's the whole point.
Shrubs way smaller than this one.
It's because they didn't want to
Were
move the
marked,
big trees.
and the trees right beside them were left unmarked. And clearly, any normal thinking person would look at that and go, yeah, that's a fire hazard. And some of those, we could spend $100,000. It ain't gonna matter when a fire runs up those canyons full of pinyon and pine.
It's going to jump right into the tree.
The trees they had marked to removal were laughable. And I will hold Matt accountable to that as well, because he certainly was in support of that fire mitigation project. So anyway, I just wanted to report that to the board. Very, very discouraged when I went to look.
So maybe what we ought to do is get Adrian to bring Ben in a little workshop talking about that. I think we need to come up with what we agree we want to use the money for and how to make it most cost effective and best value, getting what we want done, like you said, fire mitigation. Good point. Kevin, you got any thoughts?
One thing on that note, there are quite a few places, subdivisions that have one way in, one way out, where you've got trees coming right up to the road. And money might be better spent on
Getting an exit.
thinning that out or something like that as well. And in the case of a fire, they have a little better chance of getting out.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kevin. I'll do some more research on that Title III money on how that can be expended. I don't believe from my knowledge base that it has to go through a CWPP, has to be expended to a subdivision with a CWPP. I think we can decide how some of that money is spent, and I would agree with you. Point in case, Tanglewood. There's a private landowner up there that gave Tanglewood access through his property to establish an egress road to make that loop back out of Tanglewood, which was a huge thing for them, whether they realize that or not.
It's true.
One of the conversations Adrian and I had, this is a little side note, but it kind of ties into what you said, was would the fire department authorize any assets to go down and up some of these driveways to fight a fire around the house? Clearly, these big fire trucks couldn't even get down. some of
Matt
those
pointed that
driveways.
out in one of the meetings I was at. You can't get in there.
No, and then you certainly can't turn around. So what's the alternative in a case of a fire? You'd have to back down the driveway. You couldn't do that with these fire trucks. They're just not. They just don't have the capability to handle that. But that's not our necessary responsibility. But I do agree that some vegetative removal on some of those roads could be something we'd look at. Yeah.
Or even, and I've brought that up before, if the county had a chipper, the landowners could do some of their own thinning and we would help them take care of the slash and things of that nature. That would be money well spent in a case like that.
Yeah, I'll look into that one. I researched that bill money. We made that comment basically on every property we looked at was and we kind of did it tongue in cheek, but I said to Adrian, if you and I wanted to make some great money, we'd go buy a couple of chainsaws and chippers and probably handle those 6 properties in 2 days.
Yeah,
Because it was just shrubs, wasn't trees,
yeah.
1 tree. So,
All right, anything else? Any other items?
Not for me, sir.
I had one thing, actually. It was, I did talk, we've been discussing the broadband, fiber broadband, tower broadband programs. And I did talk with Carmel and I asked him, there are issues with USDA grants. The administration's holding back on granting the dollars into those organizations and delaying it another 30, 40 days, whatever it is. So I asked them to get a meeting together with all of us, the 3 of us, the 2 town mayors and the Economic Development Court to discuss both the tower, the fiber program, and then the program that the Economic Development's working with Orfano County broadband stuff that Tom, you brought up the other day. So we all understand where we are, where the grant process is because of funding availability. And he is going to be sending you all an email to get suggested dates where we can all then sync up and get a date selected. And I told him what we can't do, which is on the budget hearing days and a couple other items that were blocked out. So stay tuned and look for it in your email.
if I may, sir, whenever it's appropriate.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all I need to know.
We probably should have got this on the agenda as an item, but obviously we're scheduled to meet again on the district attorney budget process. And
Let's do it.
when is that date?
What was it, 23rd or something like that? Whatever the name is.
I'm looking, so the 7th of October. So we will meet again, and maybe we ought to put this on one of the next 2 budget or BOCC agendas. We've got to decide.
Yeah.
What
we're willing to pony up.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point if we go to another DA budget hearing and we don't have some benchmarks from this county?
See, the 7th is Thursday.
So it gives us Tuesday or
And it's
Wednesday.
at 1:30.
So I would suggest that we put this item on the agenda for
Which one's which one's the least amount right now, Tina?
Let me pull up my agendas here.
You got a Water Conservancy District meeting on the 6th. Which time?
no.
In the Wetmore Community Building meeting. 5th.
Okay, at this time, on the 5th, we have 3 items. On the 6th, we have 0 new business items at this point.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter to me. I mean, we'll be going to that meeting the next day.
That's good.
But I'm a little frustrated about that whole process. Now, looking back, we were there to hear her. Any other comments probably were inappropriate. I get that, but the other
She threw
problem is,
everything at us.
yeah, and the other problem with that is that we did not have a chair of that meeting. Everybody kind of looked to Elsner to chair the thing because we happened to have it in his place. But I was disappointed with the lack of organization and leadership from the commissioners as well.
But we moved at least to this next meeting.
To hear her budget presentation and have comments about that, I think would have been appropriate. But
Well, now she has that opportunity because we're coming back together.
yeah, we can't afford really to postpone a decision until, I mean, we can, but it's got to be decided in a budget hearing at some point. We got to give Braden some numbers, or,
Which we will maybe.
you know, we'll end up having a second round of a budget hearing sometime. So of course, we could look at the final, but by then it's a little too late. So I would propose that we make a decision on the 7th or on the 6th
On the
about
6th.
what we think we can afford. It's a very convoluted situation because all the counties have to agree. 5 years ago, one county said, I don't agree, and we're not paying a dime. And so then the other 3 counties in the 11th judicial district had to make up their portion. It was, I don't know, 8, 9, no, it was more than that, 12,000 something. So that caused a lot of angst within the 11th judicial BOCCs. But I think we probably need to make a decision where we're coming from.
And the impression I got, see if you guys did, after she understood what we were all hammering her with, that there were a lot of things that she didn't need to be bothering us with, that shouldn't be, like the remodel of their
Well,
offices
yeah.
and all that nonsense. So she ought to be able to skinny down to what the most priority was, which to me was funding a couple people to be their investigators or whatever the rest of it.
Yeah, and in all fairness, because I do want to try to be fair about it, she's new. A lot of those numbers were the same numbers from the 2021 budget. She just put them in there because she didn't know any different.
That's right.
But well, for the record, her budget request was 63% higher for this year than it was last year.
That was $1,400,000
Yeah.
more roughly.
What's our percentage?
5.5.
And that's not gonna change. I mean.
No,
based
the
on
percentages won't
census and
change.
It's based on population.
Those are fixed.
I thought there were more people moving into Park County and Chaffey County, and maybe the numbers would change.
Yeah.
No, the big dog is Fremont County.
I think last year it was 5%. They go off the census data, but this year for 2022,
We
based on our population was 5.5%. So it's not a huge amount of money in comparison to other counties, but obviously it's based on population, which I think, you know, is a great way to go about it.
Yeah, it is, and we have to pay it. I mean, it's a requirement.
So,
We can dig in on what we think is useful for them. I mean, they're just like us. If we have to forsake a new position, you do it. And get by with what you got, and that's what it boils down to.
yeah, for an increase, I think we have to make a decision on what we can afford. Doesn't matter what they think they need. We have to be able to say this is what we can afford to pay an increase. We already know we're going to pay that basic 5%. But the increase is.
Well, that's the problem. 5% of their big increases hit.
So,
I ask a question? So how come they're asking for a remodel on offices that are basically brand new?
well, it's a great point. And Dwayne McFall, the commissioner from Fremont County, quickly corrected her and said, first of all, you don't ask this group for money to remodel a building that Fremont County owns. You come to Fremont County Commissioners and ask.
That's thrown out.
And her intent was to try to remodel it and add some additional office space.
And parking.
And Dwayne said that's not a judicial 11 BOCC issue. That's a
Yeah,
Fremont County.
because I
issue.
remember when Fremont County, I had just become
Yeah.
clerk when Fremont
Right.
County did that.
Yeah, so she had $80,000 in that budget just to remodel her offices.
Well, and they had a big pay raise before COVID hit anyway. That was another, and that should be, well, except now she's hired investigators that they never had before.
I can tell you, after having lunch with Sheriff Byler yesterday, he's very disappointed that he wasn't made aware of that because he would have loved to set in on that.
Yeah.
And I told him that I had specifically told her that we were very disappointed in the services we got from the DA's office to this point without regard to Mr. Bankston, our ADA. We all complimented him, and as did the courts and the sheriff's department on the job he's doing. But
Go ahead.
And I have one comment as to that with the investigators, is the 4 clerks in Judicial 11 have been going back and forth with her since November of almost a year, because of the, so we turn into
County
her
clerks you're talking
office.
about.
Yes, we turn into her office all the signature discrepancies, and they're supposed to investigate those. And when we first turned them in, I talked to the assistant DA, and he said, we're right in the middle of trying to hire investigators, blah, blah, blah. And nothing has ever been done on those. Those have never been investigated.
I don't know when she had 4 of them there. She has 4 now. And I don't know when they hired them. She didn't say.
And we can't get any, we've asked to meet with her, and we're not getting.
Can you talk to this, the guy you just met?
No, I've not talked to him.
Yeah,
And I don't know if Justin from the clerk from Fremont, he's the one kind of heading it up. I don't know if he's talked to
Gonna
the
ask.
assistant or not. Yeah.
well, I believe she's got 7 ADAs in her office, 3 for Fremont County, 4 for Fremont, 1 in each of the other counties.
When they're sharing, I think, on a couple, we have a dedicated guy only. He's not
Yeah.
going between counties now.
So anyway, I thought we probably ought to offer, extend an invitation to Shannon to set in on that Zoom meeting. I don't know if you guys are planning on being Zooming in or live. Where you
I was
guys
gonna go
down.
live. That's all right. Because I think they're in their broadband thing too.
So I will give that information to Shannon if he wants to Zoom in. I suspect he'll want to go down there, but she, you know, when she said, oh, I have a good working relationship with Shannon, I talk to him all the time. Shannon said, that's a bald-faced lie.
I don't doubt it.
Would you like me to send the meeting invite to
Yeah.
Shannon?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. We got an executive session we're gonna do. Is anything else we want to bring up? All right, so we ought to probably recess.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of an executive session.
It says today, I don't know why it's on
Until I
there.
looked at the
Are
agenda.
you aware of anything?
I am.
Bill,
Yes.
can I make just a final public comment?
Depends on how final and how long.
Oh, it's pretty short.
Go ahead. Debbie.
First off, the word ordinance is misspelled on the website. It is missing an I, so that might want to be corrected. I also want to
In
thank,
what area, Deb, so we can
Yeah,
direct
where-
him? That's
where
a
is-
big website.
on the homepage,
Okay.
yeah. And then I also, I want to thank Clint for acknowledging Rural Philanthropy Days. It was really a great project to put on, and I'm glad that it was so successful. I also want to comment that, Bill, you are correct that everyone is speeding, especially people from Texas. And I also want to make comment that you did make the right call on Cuerno Verde.
Okay, thanks, Debbie.
That's it. Have a great day.
Debbie, I'm looking real quick on the homepage for that. Can you be a little more specific?
I'll go there right now. Hold it 1 second.
I'm looking, but I don't.
Okay, hold it 1 second. Wherever the word, all right, so it's not the homepage. It's wherever the word ordinance is.
Hey, well, there's a lot of information on that website. so-
Well, no, so I'll find it. And I'll take a screenshot and let you know where it is.
Yeah, shoot it to Tina and she can.
Oh.
send
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Vernon and Jordan and fix it.
Got it. Thank you.
So we've got an agenda item on the 6th for
Yes,
DA budget
Budget review.
discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
okay.
Unless we have a place on the web homepage about selling ammunition, because that's ordinance. We don't do that.
That might be a different spelling too, by the way. Oh, gosh.
Okay, then let me do this and let's do it right.
So can we go back?
Yeah.
So we are scheduled for an executive session?
Yes,
And how
we are.
come we didn't know about that?
It was on the agenda. I saw it,
I know that.
but I don't know what it is and nobody's talking.
Okay, that's fine. I just think as commissioners, we need to know what it's about before it ever hits the agenda.
We've had that discussion before.
I would move we take a recess for the purpose of going into executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into
No.
recess.
Yeah, just the recess. We'll deal with the executive session separately, right? So we can get the,
It is on the BOCC page. I'll tell Vernon where it is. I see it.
So I don't need to move this other action, which moves to go into. the
yes,
executive.
yeah, but let's recess, then we'll
That's
go
what I
into
want.
executive session.
Okay, let's go take a recess.
We need to vote on that.
Yeah.